love what we do. We get the privilege of doing what we do for a living. And our attitude is really that, you know, there's great gratitude and excitement in the fact that we get to do that. So I think that energy comes across. That's how I found my team. I ask, do you love what you do? And if you do, you must, every opportunity, whether there's 20 people, 5 people, 20,000 people, the energy must be the same, because it's a privilege to do what we do. I'm currently developing my career in the United States and a stronger presence in Europe as well. I would like to know that I can tour every single year around the world. I enjoy the travel, I enjoy performing for new audiences, I enjoy telling my story as a South African to new audiences, and the more I tell my story, the more I realize how connected we are as people, actually. We all hunger for the same things. We all tend to go through the same things in life from a different perspective. But, you know, we go through our troubles only so we can find a space of feeling like we enjoy our lives and everything starts to make sense. And I enjoy that connection. It informs the kind of music I then write. So I try to connect on a heart-to-heart with every kind of audience. And so my music, I call it Afro Soul because it infuses American soul music, R&B, and a little bit of jazz. I infuse that with my African languages. And sometimes the African licks, because I also do like how we dance and how we move. The rhythm that just, you can't help it, but you start moving to the music. So I try to draw from everything that appeals to me to create a sound that is Lira. And often people will ask, so how do you describe being a modern African, or what is being African now? And the truth is, growing up, the world told me what Africa was. The world dictated those images. So there's a great opportunity now to define what I am as an African, given my environment, my travels, and how I feel about myself. And so for me, I can't help but draw from everything I've found in the world, but to try a unique way that connects to everyone in the world through my language, through how I move, through how I process information, through my story, through how I've been influenced to see the world. So I find inevitably, you know, it is a borrowing of all these different things, but packaged from the perspective of being firmly grounded as a South African. I realize that it informs how I see the world. And I enjoy telling my stories from that perspective, but as I tell them, you realize that we are actually all so connected. And I love that. That is exciting. And it's always telling the stories in a very honest way, because I know if you're being honest, you will connect to the next person. And that's always what I'm seeking to do, because there's nothing new under the sun. There's only a different perspective of the same things. I think what we're always looking to do is understand each other, to not just dictate or just plaster, oh, do this. So I think what we're all seeking is to understand and be understood. So for me, with the European festival, it would be to understand what drives you, what are your passions, and when you look at it, some of the world's inventions come from Europe. You know, what informed this kind of thinking? You know, you have a situation and you'll come up with a solution that might be a situation that we were not necessarily placed in order to give birth to some of those thinking. And for me, that's where the exchange comes in. And again, it's perspective. Our perspectives were different, and so there's a lot of things to learn from that. And I think Africa has learned a lot from Europe, but in a festival, it might just bring more depth to the understanding. I grew up confused. I didn't understand why I was treated differently. And I was angry. I was angry with life, with God, with white people. I just didn't understand. And then I was angry. Why did I end up in this group? And why didn't I end up in that group? Because life would be better. And all of this frustration. And through understanding again, you begin to appreciate your own journey. That it gives birth to the flavor that is you, the character and the drive. And I found beauty in the journey. And so I'm very appreciative of it. Yesterday I mentioned in the show that a lot of us grew up in a time where we were constantly struggle. You know, you were struggling to be heard, to be understood, to matter. That it's okay that I exist. It's enough that I exist. And so there was a lot of internal battle. And if you grew up in that, it informs how you become as an adult to a very large degree. And I felt, you know, a lot of us still have that mindset. And we did not know how to turn it into true freedom. We're still sort of enslaved by some of the concepts or the frustrations of back then. So how do you really free yourself? How do you live freely without that kind of burden? And I feel this is the opportunity of my generation to define that. What is real freedom? And for me, freedom is being what I am. If I'm a musician, let the world give me place and space to be a musician. If I'm a doctor, if I'm I don't know, a philanthropist or a philosopher, whatever it is, the freedom to just speak and know that I can be heard in this world, to feel like I matter. I think that's what, as human beings, we're ultimately looking for. And of course, to have a roof over your head, the basic needs, food on your table. These are the things that cause us a lot of angst. But if we create an environment where that's possible, I think people then suddenly feel validated just for existing. And so I'm constantly finding ways to stop blaming and realize that what has happened has happened. You learn from it, you take what you can, you empower yourself, and you find joy out of this life, because we only have a few years, really. So you better make them count and make them good while you are here. And that's what we're all looking for, really. So.